Who is Jesus? About him we don't know for certain either the date of the birth or that of the death. But this incarnation has been so important to divide the history in before Christ and Anno Domini. What happened at that time? Graphically, we could explain it this way. In the beginning there was God, who created the universe, starting the history. With the incarnation of Jesus, the eternity of God entered in the time of a human life. Obviously, the infinity couldn't be contained in a limited space. The incarnation of Jesus had enormous repercussions on the whole history, before and after him. Becoming a man, Jesus extended to each man the dignity of Son of God. Since then, even the children in the belly of their mother are no more despicable beings, because God has been as them. Since then, the suffering and the death are no more senseless, because God has experienced them, and so they fight them. Till few decades ago, it was a common opinion in the Western world that the incarnation of Jesus was the center of gravity of the history, that is the star at which have looked the prophets in the night of the previous ages, and that has illuminated the life of the man come later. With this awareness, it was possible to correctly understand the historical events, connections and analogies that nowadays result almost incomprehensible. Concerning this, some amateur studies have shown, with many forcings, certain parallelisms between Jesus and some pagan gods, asserting the thesis that the history of Jesus is only the last version of a previous myth. In fact, these mythological characters are figures of Christ, that is, his prefigurations, as it results from a deep analysis. About the myth of Horus, for example, in the medieval text Legenda Aurea, it's written that the prophet Jeremiah had revealed to the Egyptian priests that their idols would be fallen when a virgin had given birth to a child, so they had begun adoring the image of a pregnant woman. Till few years ago, however, we believed that the Church had chosen December 25th as the date of Christmas to oppose and replace the pagan celebrations of the days of the winter solstice, or of the Indo-Persian god Mithra. This thesis has recently been put in discussion by the discovery of Professor Shemariah Talmon of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. The Church celebrates the Annunciation, that is the incarnation of Jesus, on March 25th, 9 months before Christmas, and according to Luke's Gospel, in that period Elizabeth was at 6 months of pregnancy. Therefore, if this date was historically founded, the cousin of the Virgin would have had conceived her child around previous September 25th, in the days in which, according to the same Gospel, her husband Zachariah, belonging to the priestly class of Abia, was officiating in the temple. Professor Tarmon has succeeded in specifying the unchangeable order according to which the 24 priestly classes follow one another at liturgical service in the temple, for a week twice a year, establishing that one of the 2 turns of the Abia's class fell in the last week of September. So, it's very probable that Jesus was born on the 25th December. Anyway, to establish that the previous myths are figures of Christ and not the contrary, all it takes is observing that, as it results, neither Horus nor Mithra have been seen after their hypothetical resurrection, while thousands of presumed apparitions of Jesus have occurred after his death, even to atheists and non-Christians, that evidently cannot be explained all with psychology, also because they have often been accompanied by scientifically inexplicable but objectively recorded miracles. The greatest miracle of Jesus is surely the existence of the Church as founded. Jesus, in fact, for 2000 years has constantly helped the Church reforming itself on his image, opposing the tendency to the corruption inevitable in every human structure. Sometimes the reformers started from the vertex of the Church, others from the simple believers, as St. Francis. In the last centuries, a narrow bond is noticed between the Virgin Mary and the popes. For example, the Virgin appeared in Lourdes, naming herself Immaculate Conception, 4 years after the Pope had confirmed the dogma of the Immaculate Conception, while the collapse of the Soviet Union happened 5 years after the consecration of the Russia to the heart of the Virgin, as she had demanded in Fatima. Besides, the Church has been able to overcome 2000 years of persecutions, the greatest of which is probably happening today. As a matter of fact, doesn't exist a country all over the world in which the Christians are not persecuted, up to physical death in Asia and in Africa, or social death in Europe and in America. Jesus is considered by many people an obstacle to the pursuit of happiness and the development of human potentialities. So, people try to eliminate him, defaming the church, his person, or even deny his existence. Many people would like to push us into a new age of peace, scientific development, and universal brotherhood. They repeat us that we don't need Jesus, but counting on our strengths we have to face some sacrifices, the financial crisis, the green reconversion, for the good of the future generations. These are the same myths publicized in the last century by the communism, the fascism, and the Nazism. If also this time we will make us cheat, however, the results could be even worse. We already know who is behind all of this, but we also know how it will end. Even if the media play on our fears and serious motives for war exist, we don't have to be afraid, because we know that staying united with the only true Savior, we will overcome also the difficulties of this time. Because Jesus, through his cross, has already won the evil and saved the world. And living together with him, also we can make great miracles happen.